sent assassins after your head. What are you going to do?
I'm going to find Black Mask and put an end to this.
Hi, this is Josh from Start Replay, and I'm with the creative director of Batman Arkham Origins, Eric Holmes. Eric, it's a pleasure to meet you, finally.
Nice to meet you too.
So, Arkham Origins, what is the pressure like? You've taken on this very prestigious gaming series from Rocksteady, and now you're pushing the next title, the prequel, out the door on October 25th. How does it feel?
Well, it's really exciting. I think the best thing for me has been bringing the game to events like this, bringing it to E3 where people can play it and actually get their hands on it and make their own judgments about it. So we've been getting a huge response here. The lineup at the station on the show floor is huge.
So how do you take the... So you're told you're going to make the next Batman game. How do you take that? How do you cope with that? It's a big responsibility, obviously. He's a big icon in the superhero world.
Absolutely, it's a big responsibility, but the excitement of what that means, what that opportunity is, completely outweighs it. So it's, I think to be honest, up until we went public, we weren't even really thinking about pressure beyond what we were applying ourselves, because we hold ourselves to the standards of Arkham City, of Arkham Asylum, and games with great story, games with really solid depictions, authentic depictions of those characters, great voice work, fantastic gameplay. So for us, the mantra has always been trying to make sure everything that we add to the game has to be at least as good as the other elements of the game that are already there.
So what were the main features that you wanted to implement from the start? What were things that you thought the Arkham series could do with, or that it was lacking, if there was anything? Well, Batmobile, for instance.
They're really solid games. I think one of the things I'm probably most proud of us adding is the new detective gameplay, the case file system. So Batman's been realized, multi-dimensionally in the other games, but the thing we were excited about was taking inspiration from the detective vision stuff we've seen in other games, where Batman will scan things and can generally figure something out very directly. This handprint is this person's handprint, or this is where that bullet came from. But what we wanted to do was to use this technology for the crime scenes to tell a story. So we're actually simulating a series of events taking place, and at the same time, Batman in reverse is going backwards through the crime scene, figuring out exactly what happened. That's fun for a couple of reasons. One is that we've got gameplay and story connected at one moment, which is always very powerful if you actually make those things kind of interweave. And the other thing is, I think it's really fun to see the villains and what they do, what they get up to when you're not around, and it makes them seem truly quite evil. So it's if Batman's on the scene for something and something's underway, generally he'll shut it down right away. But if this crime's already taken place, there's nothing he can do. He's just trying to figure out what happened and what he can learn from the scene, and then how to go and punish the guilty afterwards.
Yeah, of course, this series sees the inception of a lot of big villains in the franchise, in the Batman franchise. You've got Bane, you've got Joker, you've got some other, maybe not quite as well-known villains. You've got Firefly and Anarchy as well. Was that a main goal, to introduce things that people didn't necessarily, or villains that weren't focused on as much in the rest of the Batman mythos, as it were?
Well, I think it's our job to bring something new with the game, and I think adding new villains, adding ones which aren't necessarily as exposed, is a great way to do that, because there's different angles you can express with those characters. Anarchy is a good example. He's one you brought up. So he's an anti-villain. He doesn't think of himself as a bad guy, and in our game he's actually reaching out to Batman. He thinks that they're the same, and he wants Batman to understand what he's trying to do and help him. And so I think that Anarchy is one of those characters that's multi-dimensional in the Batman universe, and also highly relevant in the world of today. He's anti-corporate, he's anti-government, he's visually designed to look like a street protester, and apart from the very obvious kind of compelling statements he makes, he has a very strong perspective on how the world should be. I think he's very timely for the world that we're in.
Now, of course, it was recently unveiled that you can go in the Batcave. And you said recently also that you could explore the Batcave. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, there's a bunch of storytelling elements in there. Like, one of the things that Rocksteady definitely established with the series was making sure that story, which isn't just front and center in cutscenes or in dialogue, there's story in the environments. So one way that's realized in the Batcave as an aspect of Batman is this kind of early form of the Batcave. So the Batcave in our game is actually under construction. Much like Batman's identity is under construction in our game, he's still figuring out who he is, he's still figuring out what he means to the city, he's still figuring out, along with Alfred, why he does what he does. And also, I think in our game, he has to question just how far he'll go to stick to his values, to stick to his mission, so to speak. Now, the Batcave in particular how to describe it.
It's a hole in the ground.
It is, and there are
It's
bats
not
in it.
man-made, and there are bats in it.
It's a cave. So the Batcave is a representation of Batman 2. Like I said, it's under construction. His suit's under construction. His technology's under. It's a very raw kind of primitive form, and I think it's kind of fun to see these pieces of the IP in this early state. Like you mentioned his costume when you had I think messaged me online.
Yes. Yeah.
We think the costume that we've got is really, really strong. It's very appealing. It's very it's a very daunting task to take on, designing a batsuit, because he's an iconic character. But you also have to bring something fresh to the overall impression. So like, when you see a screenshot, when you see a movie of the character doing something, he's visually engaging, and it really pops as being this game. So for us, our costume itself is designed to look as if it's kit bashed, it's bench made. In the other games, what you've seen is this very refined Batman who's late in his career. He's been doing this for years, and it's represented in his appearance. I'm not entirely sure how he puts the suit on, because it looks like it's one giant one-piece thing. But in our game, it's a collection of different technologies. It's a collection of pieces assembled from different materials, assembled from different purposes, rather than a single purpose-built, custom-designed, factory-produced item.
Planks of wood, just hammering down the nails, trying to get some bulletproofy in there. But amateur stuff, I suspect. Of course, this is the first time the Arkham series sees a multiplayer mode introduced. Of course, you guys aren't developing yourselves, it's splash damage. What do you think of that? Have you seen much of it yourself?
To be honest, you're best to talk to the splash damage guys about that. We've been very focused on the campaign and trying to make it the best story, the best collection of new Batman features we could make.
And just before we go, is there anything you might be able to hint at in a way of DLC? Is that anything you're thinking about, or is it far in the future for you?
We are actively working on DLC. We want to make sure that there's a very complete package for Arkham Origins as a AAA game. So we haven't got anything to announce, but I think that will make fans happy. We've got a couple of surprises in the pipeline.
Well, thanks again for speaking with me, Eric. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to Batman Arkham Origins once it's released on PC, PS3 and Xbox 360 on October 25th. And Wii U.
Kill him and I'll pay you whatever you want. Make him suffer and I'll double it. Scream for me! You're gonna love this. I present to you the death of the Batman.
Some hardened vigilante. You're a young man with a trust fund and too much anger.
I am the reason the criminals breathe easier when the sun rises.